What's a man of the Night's Watch doing in a wildling camp?
My name is Jon Snow, Your Grace. I'm Ned Stark's son.
This is a world where bloodlines mean everything, and particularly for Stannis, I mean, whose whole claim on the throne is based on the fact that he is the rightful heir. He is the true blood relation to Robert Baratheon, his older brother, and now he's meeting a young man who, while a bastard, is still descended from Ned Stark. And Ned was the one who informed Stannis about his rightful claim to the throne, and so Stannis has a lot of respect for the memory of Ned, and so he has respect for Ned's family.
Stannis is a person who takes obligations very seriously, and he has a debt to Ned Stark, and Ned Stark died for Stannis's birthright, and I think he'll never forget that, and it definitely factors into his decision to take Jon seriously.
We were right there in front of you and you didn't see us. One look in the past 20 years. One real look at your own children and you would have known.
Known what?
It's a huge gamble on Cersei's part. You need to be steely and tough as hell to pull a move like this on a person like Tywin. She goes up against him and she wins. And she wins with the one thing that she holds over him, which is his family legacy. She has a piece of information that could destroy the most important thing in the world to him, the thing that he's worked on his entire life. And I think that Tywin looks in her eyes, and when she tells him the truth, he realizes that she is someone who will do exactly what she claims she'll do. She's very much her father's daughter in that way. Ruling is about maintaining order and creating an environment for your people that is safe. And her dragons, which were such an asset in scaring the shit out of everybody and making people throw down their swords and run in the other direction, when she would come knocking as a conqueror, they're becoming a liability that she can't afford anymore. It's one thing to be killing people's goats, and you can pay off a goat herder for his goats. You can't pay off a goat herder for his children. So she realizes that she has to put the interests of her people ahead of her dragons, who are the only real children she's ever going to have.
You're Arya Stark.
Arya's really impressed by her up until the moment where Brienne figures out who she is. And then Arya gets really suspicious because her travels over the last few years have taught her to be quite suspicious of strangers, even strangers who might appear friendly at first. And the fact that Brienne admits her association with Jaime Lannister, and as the Hound points out, Brienne's carrying a Lannister sword. You know, Arya has no idea that's the Valyrian steel that was melted down from ice. It's just, she knows it's Lannister gold because the Hound says it is, and Brienne doesn't deny it. So all of a sudden, this woman who Arya was quite taken with seems to be an agent of the Lannisters, and Arya doesn't want any part of her.
Brienne's really caught unawares here. I don't know if she's thinking too far into the future about what she's going to do with this little girl once she gets her hands on her. But I think that right now her sole concern is saving this girl from the Hound. She obviously doesn't believe that the Hound is protecting Arya, somewhat tragically, because by the time we get to this point in the story, the Hound is protecting Arya. When he says he's looking after her, by the time he says that, he actually means it.
Go on. Do it. Do it.
Arya is in some ways the product of this education where the Hound's, you know, telling her you're very soft and you've always been soft, and if you're gonna stay soft, you're not gonna survive. And look at all your soft, Stark relatives who died for being soft-hearted or whatever. And Arya's not anymore. You know, she's become quite tough. And as much as there's been a growing, you know, closeness between her and the Hound at some points in the season, she's never forgotten what the Hound has done, and the Hound was on her list, and so the Hound now wants something very badly from her, and she's not going to give it to him, you know, and it's kind of a brutal moment because you kind of so want Arya to give him mercy, you know, just to be kind of sweet there, but that sweetness is gone if it was ever there, and partly the reason for that is because of the Hound himself, and she gets her revenge finally for, you know, the murder of her friend.
Kill me!
Tyrion definitely has impulsive tendencies, especially when it comes to his father. I think he just thinks about what kind of a father Tywin has been to him, and the fact that Tywin was willing to have him executed for something that he knows Tywin knows he didn't do. I think at the end of the day, he just decided it was time for Tywin to be called to task for the way he'd behaved towards his son for the past 40-odd years.
Tywin, my lion.
Tyrion is coming to deal with his father and had no idea he was going to run into Shay, and it's heartbreaking for him, especially hearing her say "my lion," which was always what Shay called Tyrion, and hearing it and realizing it's meant for Tywin, not Tyrion, is a shock and kind of the final betrayal that just makes Tyrion snap in this moment.
As horrible as everything has been, that's, in a way, the most horrible thing he could possibly see, because she wasn't a whore. By the time they have become committed to each other, she's no longer a whore. When he calls her a whore, it's not that he believes this is what she is, it's what he desperately needs to tell her to save her life in his mind. And ironically, he's ended up turning her into that very thing that she was running from. So the fact that she would betray him with his father in that way, I just think something breaks in him.
It's kind of the tragedy of these two people who genuinely loved each other and who both felt betrayed by one another and end up trying to kill each other.
Tyrion. Put down the crossbow.
You know, one of the great things about Tywin, one of the reasons he is so good at what he does, is he's the master poker player, and part of that means never showing shock. And if you're gonna be the master of the situation, you can't admit that you are stunned by the turn of events. And so I think he's definitely surprised, but Tywin is Tywin, and he very quickly tries to manipulate the situation again and tell Tyrion, I was never going to let them execute you, you're my son. And I think he's quite convinced that he'll be able to talk his way out of this one. In this game that so many of the characters are playing, no one's played it better than Tywin. And he doesn't believe that this can be the end. It's not going to end like this. Tywin Lannister does not die sitting on the toilet, you know, murdered by his own son. And he's kind of shocked right up until the moment the first bolt hits him. And then even more shocked because he can't believe that this is how it's going to end.
It's all of Tywin's shortcomings as a person and a father coming together in a perfect storm in this moment to fatal effect.
This whole season's about learning hard lessons from your ruthless elders, and Tyrion learned that lesson. This is a man who's been trying to eliminate him really from the time he was born, and Tyrion gets his revenge.
What have you done?